You've probably heard that the most common phobia in the world is, yes, public speaking. An estimated 75% of us experience anxiety when we have to speak in front of others. When you add a history of trauma into the mix, well, if you watch this channel, you've probably experienced it yourself. Speaking in front of groups can be paralyzing, and some of us go to such great lengths to avoid speaking up in front of others, it can really block our participation in the world, in our careers, in our freedom to become all that we're meant to be. My letter today is from a woman I'll call Sandy, and she writes, "Hi, Anna. My question is, how do I find my voice again? I work in an office environment full of meetings and hierarchy. I lead a small team, and I think I do okay, as I've always been the type to advocate for people, fix what's broken, fight for what's right, and help people reach their goals." Sounds good. I've got my fairy pencil. I'm going to go through and circle things I want to come back to on a second reading, but let's see what's going on for Sandy here. She says, "The problem arises when I'm in meetings or speaking engagements. I spend the entire time avoiding a full panic attack. These attacks come on hard the moment I know that I'll have to speak, and it completely locks up my voice. It happens even if I prepare. I can't breathe, I'm shaking, and if I try to talk over the short breaths, my voice is shaky, and I'm overall visibly shutting down. I've literally run out of rooms with my heart hammering in my chest so badly. It felt like I was going to pass out or implode. Sometimes all I'm trying to do is introduce myself," she says. "I've had issues with public speaking and being put on the spot since I was young. My childhood started out fairly normal, albeit being hyperactive, undiagnosed ADHD, and constantly envious of friends that somehow seemed more confident. My mother lacked confidence my entire childhood, putting herself down, calling herself names, and I 100% adopted that behavior and fight my self-talk to this day. My dad wasn't home much and had a bit of a temper, and when he was home, I spent a lot of time trying to win his love and attention, but usually got in the way. When I was 10, I found my mother crying. She got a call that my dad was cheating. I consoled her, telling her it couldn't be true, but she was a wreck and it was true. They sold the house, and my mom and I moved, where I switched schools away from my friends. I remember feeling disconnected and angry, and I didn't do well in school. I only had one friend, and they didn't treat me very well, and I was picked on and too insecure to defend myself. This is where I first experienced being the focus of negative attention, when I was picked on doing a presentation in front of class." Yeah, that'll do it. "After the divorce was finalized, my mother and I moved again, which pulled me to another school and away from everyone I knew. I made one good friend, and my mom did her best to maintain a stable home for me, while she battled anorexia and depression." Oh, wow. "My dad married the other woman and was drinking a lot and would often forget to pick me up for weekends with him. When I was there, he was having frequent high temper, drunken fights with my new stepmother, which I often got caught up in the middle. During this time, my ability to use my voice shrank even more. And the panic attacks with public speaking started. I always felt different, like everyone else had it together, and I was the outlier. I started doing better in school, but never raised my hand with answers and felt like everyone else was smarter and superior. I attempted college and wound up dropping out, feeling like I was missing what others had in them to finish. My dad visited once and got drunk and yelled at my friends. Trying to win the affection of my father made me a people pleaser, so when I started working, I worked incredibly hard with unreasonable perfectionism, using hard work as some sort of shield to past pains and to prove I was worthy even without a degree. I desperately wanted to be respected and viewed as equal. My dad died suddenly in my 20s, and while he could better relate to me as an adult and voiced pride once, I felt a huge loss for what never got fixed. Yeah. My stepmother died a few years ago, and now my mother has Alzheimer's. It's like I'm losing my entire support structure before resolving what's inside. I did get married about 8 years ago to a kind man after several extremely unhealthy, codependent relationships, and ended up doing pretty well for myself. But from the get-go, I always felt less than everyone else. When I'm in these venues or meetings, I feel like everyone else is smarter and better than me. I lose all sense of articulation and revert to that insecure, broken kid trying to shrink into the background. I have actively avoided every single opportunity that may involve speaking to a group of people or to be remotely triggering, both in and out of work. It's affected my career and really my whole life. Believe it or not, I turn 50 next year, and I can't believe I'm still dealing with this residual trauma. I feel I've tried all the tricks of the trade, read books, attended empowering seminars, and it's not helping me heal whatever caused this broken, insecure side of me as a kid. I do receive accolades at work, and I'm fine speaking one-on-one. I love sharing ideas and helping people, but in meetings I can't. I hear everyone else speaking up without issue, which makes me feel my shortcomings even more. And then I beat myself up for not having the ability. Deep down, I know I have valuable things to say and contribute, but I can't seem to sidestep the panicked reaction and find the confident voice to convey them. All right, Sandy, what a beautiful letter. I really feel you. I just feel you, and I have a feeling the people in the comments are going to be sending you a lot of love. I think a lot of us can understand and relate. And the reason I laughed in the middle was when you said everybody else, it has confidence. And I'm just like, oh, if you only knew. If you only knew. We have a lot of, I think everybody here has some of the struggles you have, and maybe some extra ones too. You didn't tell me whether you've ever had therapy for this, and I'm interested in that just because I know that's something that there is both therapy and coaching for, is phobia of speaking. So, all right, I'm going to tell you a story. When I was 14, I wanted to be in the theater, and I auditioned. Where I lived in Tucson at the time, there was only musical theater, and so I had to sing a song. I had to sing a song in front of a room full of other kids who were prepared to sing and trained to sing. And I took the bus like half an hour out there to go to this audition. I sang I Am 16 Going on 17. When I was 14, that was the song. But when it was my turn, the accompanist played the piano, and I opened my mouth and I was like, I am 16 going on. And I'm telling you, I all but peed my pants. Literally, I was about to pee my pants, and then I quit the song in the middle, and I ran off in shame and ran outside and got home. I was so ashamed. It's one of the most nerve-wracking and shame-filled experiences in my life. So I understand completely what you're talking about. Now, funnily enough, as somebody who was always very chatty, I had a fair amount of confidence talking in front of other people. Not singing, even though I'm a pretty good singer, but talking. Nonetheless, when I saw myself talking on video, when I first started Crappy Childhood Fairy, I was shocked with what I saw. Do you ever have that thing where you hate your voice and you hear it recorded? I had that, and then how I looked and all of that. And so I'm just going to tell you what I did. There's two things that I've done that made me a better speaker. One was I went to Toastmasters. I don't know if you've tried that. People have probably suggested it to you. It was a fantastic experience. It was so inexpensive, and it was at this community room, and it had such a cross section of people from my actual community, students and recent immigrants and stay-at-home moms and retired people. There was an author there. They were really cool people, and I made friends, and everybody came on there completely terrified, about to pee their pants, about having to get up and speak. But for whatever reason in their life, mostly it was that they had a job or a school situation. I live in Berkeley, where UC Berkeley is, and so there's a lot of students. They had to learn to present. That's like part of life, like it is for you, and they had to do it. And when people who were nervous got up and presented, I can hardly describe to you the atmosphere of love that would just well up in the room from all of us. We had maybe, 15, 18 people in our group. And we loved each other so much. It didn't take long at all when we saw the vulnerability of people getting up and trying to make the littlest of speeches and shaking and being afraid and then saying, oh, I'm such an idiot, and doing that. All we did was feel love for them. And so when I got up, and I had a little more practice, I'll tell you why in a minute. So maybe I was a little further along the curve when I did it. But I also, so much shame, like people are looking at me, they're looking at my body, They're seeing how aggressive I am. They're seeing how I glitch out and lose the train of thought and all this. Whatever my shame was, I felt it like stabbing me when I would get up and talk in front of people. And what am I doing with my hands? And, I'm supposed to, I forgot to do the thing where I make eye contact with this person and that person. And all they did was love me. All they did was clap and say what a great job I did. And there's this little custom in there where we give a little bit of feedback to other people. And so they would say, next time you give a speech, maybe try and look at one person and then the other. Because I know when you looked at me, I sat up in my seat and felt seen and I liked it. And it just turned into such a nice and positive thing. And I can't guarantee that every Toastmasters group has nothing but like lovely, sweet people in it, but I think they do. That's certainly what I've heard from a lot of people. It's an organization with a good vibe. So I just want to put in a plug for that. It's just a way to build confidence. It's not just about public speaking. It's about being able to express yourself and be yourself. And I just can hardly think of anything more important. I personally have always felt like, how do they let people graduate from high school without nurturing this ability in every person? If I were in charge of the world, everybody would learn how to express themselves in writing and in speaking really well. Like, how can we influence the world? How can we bring our gifts and intelligence to bear if we can't express ourselves? So I believe this is really important. I love your struggle. I see how what happened to you. This thing that happened in your childhood, Sandy, it's harsh. And it all happened at once. This feels like an acute trauma. I'm just going to throw in a suggestion from left field here because I'm going to tell you the other thing I did. But EMDR. EMDR isn't always effective from what I've read for childhood traumas, but I think it's worth a try. I just hear you, like you start talking and you're going into an extreme physiological reaction that could be, associated with a memory that's kind of lodged in your nervous system there. It's worth a try. And there are other trauma therapies that help to loosen up stuff that's the emotions and the self-attack thoughts that are sort of trapped in your thinking and triggered neurologically to set off this cortisol release, racing heart rate, adrenaline, and a whole like sympathetic nervous system freak out response. That's what you seem to be describing. And it's in your brain and it's not your fault. And sometimes we just have experiences that get stuck. And surprisingly, it's also coming out that electrical stimulation of the vagus nerve can help as well. But sometimes we need just like a little boost, sort of like taking vitamin C for a cold, right? We need a little boost to our system for re-regulating the nervous system and releasing some old triggered reaction that's not serving us at all anymore. I really strongly encourage you, release all shame about having this. It's normal. It's really understandable for you. And the more you trip about it, the more you're kind of giving energy, putting fuel on the fire. It's like lighter fluid on this little fire that really you just need to let it die out. Well, I don't know what you need, but that's my sense of it, is that this can be calmed. It can be calmed, and it's probably going to be calmed through a series of actions over time, this day and this experience and this one, where you keep supporting yourself to have an easy, brief, baby step experience with speaking in front of people. So another thing I did that really helped me as a speaker, and I think prepared me for the way that I can be strong on camera right now, is I went to, over 1,000 12-step meetings after I started healing my trauma. And mostly it was for families of alcoholics, but a lot of the time I went to AA itself. Even though I'm not an alcoholic, I went to open meetings. I've always liked their life and death attitude towards healing. I related to that. I wanted to be around that. It was good for me. But I learned from talking, you can just raise your hand and say what you're feeling today. And generally people don't talk back at you. Depends on the culture of the meeting. And sometimes it's welcome and sometimes it's not. But you start to learn to just sort of frame your experience a little bit into words while you're sitting in a circle with other people. And they're doing it and you're doing it. You're being very equal with everybody. You don't have to do it. It's funny though, and people have said this, when you need to speak, you'll get this little feeling of butterflies inside, in your tummy or your chest of I need to speak, I need to speak. So I do feel there's a natural desire to express ourselves, and it wants to come out. It's part of our development and it's part of our healing too. And so I totally sympathize that this part of your healing is a little blocked for you right now, but part of your healing is actually connected to that. So you're not never going to do that, but you're at this preliminary stage where you're getting through the barriers and the trauma-driven reactions that you have that prevent you from doing the talk. And I sort of would think of it as a continuum. You're not failing, you're working the obstacles right now. And I strongly encourage you, with kindness and love towards yourself, to get together with kind and loving other people and work on it in a very easy way. Does that sound doable to you? I'm rooting for you. I know everybody here is rooting for you, and I think a lot of people relate. But the reason we heal is not just to feel better. The reason we heal, the reason is so that we can become our full and real and expressed selves. Like, our lives are meant for great things, and to express that, we need to be free of these obstacles, of the things that jam us down and block our thoughts and plug our voice, and we get free and we begin to sing like birds as the people we really are. So if you'd like the tool that I use that is like WD-40 when all these old fears get calcified, as you pursue other things, perhaps EMDR, perhaps some kind of somatic therapy, come try the daily practice. And of course, we invite you to come be a member or take courses with me. But start with this free course and see if naming the fears and resentments just helps you get a little bit of relief from them, a little bit of clarity, mental clarity, and a little bit of fresh thinking, like a new perspective on what your next step needs to be. I mean, that's really what like a good day is about, that you're not so bogged down with bad old thoughts and feelings that aren't even, the causes of them aren't happening right now, but instead to be free and available to a new experience and a new phase of growth for yourself. So the daily practice, it's a free course. You can take the course and learn the techniques in less than an hour. And if you do take it, we'll invite you to free calls that we lead every week. I lead them twice a month. My team leads them on the other days. It's a fabulous community. We do the techniques. We take questions. We try to equip everybody to really know how to use these techniques for releasing the fearful and resentful thoughts that are holding you back. So if you want to sign up for that course, I just put a link to it right there. And give it a try. And I'll see you very soon.